Here's our entire interview with David Paich of Toto. All the albums that you see, if you're watching the video version of this and not the podcast, are albums that David Paich worked on. We cover a lot of ground, including his new album, Forgotten Toys, Boss Scaggs, working with Neil Diamond, Elton John, and of course, Toto. Really nice to finally talk to you.
Me too.
Okay, let's start there.
Diamond Girl was the first hit record I ever played on. I was about 18 at the time, and Louis Shelton had been playing guitar, the producer, great producer, on my dad's TV show, which is the Glenn Campbell Good Time Hour. They were the pit band. And so I used to play with these pros down there, sit in with the professionals. And Louis Shelton heard me playing some of the England Dan John Ford Coley he had produced, and Seals and Crofts, heard me playing some of their songs and asked me if I wanted to do a session because one of my other heroes, Joe Sample, got sick and he couldn't make the date. So I filled in for him, and it was Diamond Girl, and that was my first hit record. So, and the rest of the album is fantastic, but that was just like hearing an angel sing, you know what I mean? Coming down with these songs from nowhere, Dash harmonizing with them. It was fantastic. All the A players.
You know, there was this thing a program director told me, a first program director who actually sold me that Studer there for $1,000. I know it's worth a lot more.
Yeah.
He said, how does a song make you feel? He says, yeah, it's got the hooks and all that stuff. But he says, well, now and then we've gotten, this is in 83 when I got into radio. He says, how does it make you feel? And I remember thinking of Seals and Crofts and the fact that a lot of their music, I know the Baha'i faith probably had a lot to do with it. They were really plugged into something. But there's something to how something kind of plugs you in, how it makes you feel beyond the hooks and everything else.
It does. I think when music, especially that, when you get that intricate, I was just telling someone that I learned my production protocol came out so much from Steely Dan and from Seals and Crofts. Those are the two bands that we learned to get out the microscope and to make sure technically everything was really good and that all the music will fit on top of each other. Because there's a lot of production if you listen to us or Seals and Crofts and even Steely. Steely takes an immense amount of time with their, they did when I was working with them at least, with their albums. And so we learned to really nitpick and this is before machines and before you could tune the vocals and do all this stuff that everybody would have to really knuckle down and pay attention and like I said, try and make the best music that you possibly can. So Seals and Crofts, that's what that album.
And reaction to Jimmy passing?
A bittersweet feeling. I'm glad Jimmy is making music upstairs with all the other great musicians, including my father. And but I'll miss him dearly.
When there is a certain, every band has their fans, but Toto fans are on a whole level that before I got to know them, I didn't understand.
Yeah, they're all like, I want to compare them to European fans who are just loyal from the first time they see you to you could be gone and not have a hit single out or doing whatever you're doing. And they'll still come back and be singing your songs and everything like that. And there's not a one-hit wonder over there, you know? So I think some of the fans are, and Toto's starting to get out and play a little bit more, especially with the last tour we did opening for Journey. That put us in 12,000 seat arenas, which is a good size. That's normally what we play over in Europe. And it was just fantastic. Oh, I mean, those guys are great guys, incredible musicians. And the new Toto band that's out there is just, it just sounds like our music inspired. It's just great. It's a real dream come true.
Where did the album cover for that album? I mean, I'm looking and there's her ruby slippers are there, and
yeah, that's right.
Where
you got some of that. Those are that was my wife because the first title was going to be Broken Toys, and it was going to be a little bit larger with skateboards and bicycles and stuff like that. But then I said I saw the movie To Kill a Mockingbird, where they open up the first scene is a little cigar box with little toys in it, you know. So my wife got the idea, well, let's just get all of her collectibles and artifacts and little things she's kept over the years. And so she put them in a box together. Now, my wife used to do tabletop design for commercials food commercials and stuff. She was a food stylist. So she knows how to get up close with lots of little detailed objects like that. And she just went in her treasure box and pulled out all these little things, which we're going to try and put a little detailed silhouetted maps come out sometime and number them and tell what each of the little pieces are.
Yes, that would be great. Yeah.
So anyway, it came from my wife's art direction.
The album, I've been a fan since the first album. I followed you even before then. Like, I think I emailed you and I told you, I went, what? Serenade Neil Diamond? What the hell? Why didn't I? I didn't know you then. See, I didn't know you then.
Yeah, right.
How did you get that gig? Before we talk about the album, how did you get the Neil Diamond gig?
How did I get that gig? I'd been playing with Neil's rhythm section. That's it right there. And on other dates, on other record sessions. And so I met Emery Gordy, the bass player, and Richie Bennett was a guitar player. So we all kind of knew each other and had worked together. And they just decided, they asked if I would like to, if I could come in and play on some of Neil's records. And they ran it by Neil, who's very discerning. And so it was kind of like an audition. You're playing with him, but I had his style down. I knew, because I knew Larry Knechtel, who had played on all of his stuff before that, and it was a great experience. And that another guy I learned from making records, which is taking your time, making sure the mood is right and the feel is right, and everything. Master, great record maker, and so that's how I got that gig, And then when he made his comeback, he asked me to do the tour. It was going to be an 18-month tour, and he was opening for the Aladdin. I don't know if you remember that. It was a big deal. But he asked me to do the tour, and I had to weigh that. I just finished Silk Degrees, and I had to weigh starting Toto with going out with Neil Diamond. So, it ended up where I didn't end up going with him because it was time to start my band with Jeff Porcaro, which ended up being Toto.
Is that one of the reasons you're only on Lady O, if I remember, on this one?
That I'm on what?
You're on Lady O, I think, on Beautiful Noise.
Yes. That's the Robbie Robertson produced one, isn't it?
Yeah. That I love, in the days now that records are coming back, people are able to look at sleeves again and get the information and not get a magnifying glass or something. Okay, let's talk about the album. By the way, I wanted more. Okay, I'm glad you released this. Okay. You made my year releasing this.
Oh, thank you.
But I hope you release more, because I get a feeling you got more in you.
I've got some stuff lying around here, but it takes me I'm real slow at doing this stuff, and methodical and a perfectionist, sometimes too much on it, but I've always got in the back of my mind, here's other things stirring around, you know what I mean? And as I go through my hidden weeks, when I find these pieces and everything like that, I'm going to start dusting off a few more and seeing what I have, you know what I mean? Maybe try and come up with a part two EP, you know what I mean?
The first song, I remember when Steve P told me, and I've talked to him a few times about the beginning of Hydra.
That's right.
The other guys didn't really know about it, kind of.
Right. That's right. They did not.
But see, the first song, Forward, reminded me of that. I felt a mood. You put me in a mood right away. Tell me about that song.
That was the idea. So I hate when an album starts out you expect it to start out, which is like usually a drum fill, and they go into a rock and roll song or a guitar riff, and you go into a guitar song. Which I'm such a fan of Jerry Goldsmith, the movie composer, and I got to work with him. We actually played on Rambo: First Blood, the very first Rambo movie. On the end titles, Jerry asked me to produce the end title, so I did, and I brought in Jeff. That's Lukather, and that's Hungate playing on First Blood on that. They wanted to actually say it was Toto, but we weren't using our name for exploiting movies at that time, we should have probably, but didn't. And that's how that goes from the Neil Diamond thing, that was Robbie Robertson's studio out in Malibu. And it's so funny because I remember distinctly they had been a big tap calendar review saying how the band had broken up and no one knows where they are. And they were gone to their different states to live in. And I went out to the studio and there the entire band, they were setting gear up and all talking to each other like best friends, you know? So I said, I thought you guys were broken up. And he goes, and Leadon Helm says, we just evaporate every once in a while, you know? And so that was their story. That was pretty pinch me moment, you know?
Well, speaking of those kind of moments, you know, surrounding by your dad, who was an A-list guy, who knew everybody.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time where, was there a time where you looked around and you felt starstruck? I know you worked with McCartney and.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially when I go to my father's sessions, because there'd be these great singers there. Ella Fitzgerald. I mean, I met Sammy Davis when I was 13. I've got a picture of him. Sarah Vaughan, Barbra Streisand, and everything. And I'm telling you, but when you get around, when you're around certain stars, they have this aura about them. It's like rarefied air. Streisand's that way. When you meet a Beatle, any Beatle that's like that, you just pinch me. You go into a fog because you're actually talking to, you know, one of the Beatles. Or a Rolling Stone. If you meet a Rolling Stone, it's like that. And Elton John's like that as well. You meet him, I just want to get out an autograph book and say, will you sign my book? You know, that's how much of a fan I am of those three enigmatic people I just mentioned.
But are you able to step back and realize, I mean, obviously that people look at you that way?
Yeah. Yeah, I have to step back when I'm working with people, especially like on the McCartney, Michael Jackson, The Girl Is Mine. I was like, it was a pinch me moment and I had to just snap out of it and say, I'm working right here. So I got to pay attention here, you know, instead of looking at Linda McCartney, who's right here with a camera shooting through me the rest of the session. There's Paul and Jeff Porcaro and Lukather and everybody. And we're in real tight, you know, so it was, I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now.
Did you get a chance to talk to him? For
a little bit, but it was mainly about the music, how he wanted the music to start small and get louder, which is called a crescendo, crescendo louder in the bridge. And that was pretty much it. And the rest of it was just, he complimented us because I played the last last chord to Day in the Life. I just hit this low chord. And he goes, you guys remind me of the Lads when we used to ride around in a van. So that I took that as a compliment, you know?
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. By the way, you must have been a fan of, before we get to the album segment, a fan of Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding. I mean, the way that comes in.
Of which one?
Elton's Love Lies Bleeding, Funeral for a Friend.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's a typical textbook example of where I'm at. You know what I mean? As far as that intro, where I think it was Albione, he kind of was inspired by to write that first piece, which is Funeral for a Friend, and then my friend Davey Johnston came up with the riff on Love Lies Bleeding. So that was such a great album. I remember when it came out, I just wore it out. The Yellow Brick Road album.
Was there an Elton John release that you played on that you weren't credited on? Some fan wanted me to ask you that. I
don't think so. I did only a couple things with Elton. There was a song called Nobody Wins, and I'm not sure which album that's on. But I also played on a B-side. He had a B-side that I played on, and I forget what the name was. It was called White something.
White Lightning? No, that was a single. That was I think that's the Fox you're thinking about. Nobody Wins, I think, was from the Fox.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah. Well, I did this B-side anyway, and I'd been listening to Procol Harum on the way to the session. I was a huge fan and hugely influenced by Matthew Fisher with Procol Harum because I was supposed to play organ on this. So I went into this mode, and it was kind of churchy sounding. It sounded like a hymn with rock and roll beat to it. So I started playing a little Matthew Fisher-esque play in my church kind of playing. And Elton just stopped the tape and said, Hamburg, Procol Harum song. It just busted me right in the middle of it. It's got great ears, you know?
That is great. Will I Belong to You? Paich, Lukather, and Williams together.
Yeah.
A beautiful melody. You had this thing of being able to, and I noticed it on 14. It's the first time I did a video on you guys. I did this long video on 14 and explained your history and stuff. And someone gave me hell for saying, I thought All Us Boys would make a Ghost show tune, and they took it derogatory. And I went, I didn't mean it in a derogatory way, but to me, it had a.
Right. Sure.
You know,
I get it.
Thank you. Oh my God, because I'm sweating a little here.
I get it.
Will I Belong to You? Beautiful song. Tell me about that one.
That was a typical example of why I put out an EP called it Forgotten Toys, because I had gotten off the road and I'd been digitizing a bunch of old analog cassettes and and tapes around. I had some Pro Tools tapes for a while, and we just started dusting them off and listening to them. And this piece, Joseph had written this great chorus, and it was attached to some other kind of song, but he got this chorus. And I said, well, that's a great chorus right there. And then I had a piece that I'd written that ended up being the verses to the song. And I said, well, let's just take this piece and put it right here in front of this other piece. And Joseph says, well, it needs a little transition right here. And it just took over a life of its own and started almost producing itself, you know, because we were just came very quickly. And that's really indicative of Joseph and myself writing together. I have to say, there's real magic when it comes to him, and he's such a perfectionist himself, but he's great with Pro Tools and doing all the technical stuff. I really, count on him a lot.
Did he do the new video? Because I know he's doing videos, a little bit of video stuff for Toto.
Yeah, he will be doing some videos for me. He didn't do this new one. This was a girl named Dion in Amsterdam.
Okay.
And I can't even pronounce her last name. So hard.
You know, my three favorite albums of all time are Madman, Across the Water by Elton John, first album I ever bought.
Absolutely.
Mike Rutherford's debut album, A Small Creep Stay, which a lot of people don't know about.
I don't know about that.
And this one. With you, I called it a 1-2 punch with you and Joseph going back and forth. There is this thing, and I was licking the floor with pain with a bad breakup at the time. God knows I needed something. And this album came out, and I don't remember the time I could say an album literally changed the direction of my life. And that's the first review I ever wrote professionally as a writer. I never understood why that album never made it as big as it did. It should have in North America.
Yeah. What happened, one of the things that did happen that prevented it from reaching its peak was we had Pamela. Pamela was on the charts, and it was zooming up the charts. We only needed one more radio station, WMMS, I think it is, in New York City, some big, huge station. And right when it got to be like number 20 with a bullet, CBS fired the president of CBS, and they closed the doors and locked up. Black Rock was locked down for 2 weeks. Now they had a Springsteen record that was number 15. That dropped too. That dropped off the charts. Our thing dropped off the charts, and immediately we had all this momentum going on that record there. Until they brought a new. That's when Tommy Mottola came in and replaced Al Teller. You know, so it's funny when you have a record company. A lot of the better record companies are guys that have had the same president for all those years that believe in their acts. People like Ahmet Ertegun, people like Mo Austin, you know what I mean? People like that, record people, you know, that stick with their companies, you know, where CBS, Sony, God bless their hearts, when we're changing presidents like I change underwear, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Did you get a feeling after that one, or when it was released?
How do you mean?
Did you? I mean, listen, I would find it hard to believe that you guys released 4, and I know you were under the gun with number 4, to think that you guys didn't think you had something. Well, let's start there. You must have thought you had something.
Oh yeah, we thought we had something on Total 4 album.
Yeah,
Kentucky. Yes, absolutely. Well, we knew it before because we'd played together so much. We just wanted to connect with everybody else, so everybody else would know how strongly we felt about our own stuff. you know, and we were into it. And we were sure we could get it by other people, that there would be other people if we would make our own music. I was going to tell you something else off the seventh one. Sure. We didn't release the right single on that. The single should have been Stay Away with Linda Ronstadt singing on it. And the deal was with Peter Asher, Linda will sing on your record, but you can't release it for a single or the first single or whatever, you know what I mean? Because she didn't want to have to make a comeback being a rock and roll singer. And so we said, okay, we'll use Linda, but you can't release it as the first single. And I had radio station people calling me all around the United States. Man, we're on this record's blowing everybody off the charts and everything like that. So that was one of those missed calls where we might have made it over the edge right there, you know. But going back to from 4 to and a few years later to 7, but you didn't get a feeling, because on first listen, I listened to 7 and I went, this is like, to me, it was as good as 4. I mean, everyone's right when it comes to music. Right. Everyone has an opinion, but to me, I went nuts on this album. I went, oh my God. Yeah, 7's we like that. That's why Jeff, I think, went back to the Sword on that one there, you know, as far as an album cover goes. And because we felt the connection between that and Toto IV. We've had, when we were doing Pamela, we thought, man, this is right where we left off, you know, like with Rosanna. You know, when I heard Running Out of Time from 14, I remember I asked Luke this multiple times, where do you get these like guitar riffs thing? And then I'm listening to Spirit of the Moonrise, and I'm going, here we go. What the hell? I know. He's off the Richter scale as a guitarist. He's in my top 3 guitarists, and he's 2 of them, you know? So he's just unbelievable. I'm trying to analyze how he plays the solos, his lines. And he's just, like I said, he's like a phenomena, a wunderkind, you know, as far as I'm concerned. Well, tell me about that tune, Spirit of the Moonrise. That was nice rocker. Yeah, a rocker. That was, I had a bunch of these pieces that I've been writing. One was the guitar riff that opens the song. Then there's the chorus guitar riff. Then I wrote the middle sections for the piano right there. And I had these pieces, and Joseph, who heard all the pieces, said, let me try an arrangement on this. So he did an ABC, little form thing on it. And that was the form that we ended up with on the record right there. And then him and I told him, I had the line, saw it in a dream, a girl rides across her native land. And that's what I had. And Joe and I got together and constructed a short narrative about, you know, what we thought this dream could possibly mean and stuff. And again, it was his, Joe did a great drum track on it, which we used on the record. And I'm using still with regular people, like Shannon Forrest plays the bass drum to the set. That's a sampled set there. And I also brought Mike McDonald in on it because I wanted to have him on this album here. He's such a good friend, and he's such an effective, iconic singer, you know. And when you hear his voice, and that was it, you know. We started working on it and painting it, and Joe, we'd bring in harmonies. Then we got to, once you have the blueprint for it, you get to paint it and try experiments on it and do harmony parts and do little guitar parts and stuff like that. The trick is not getting it overproduced. That's really hard when you know how to do it well. You know what I mean? How you know how to craft it. You resist the temptation to put stuff on. That's why the Beatles records sound so good, because George Martin was there and limited their options, you know, instead of putting all of them in. Although there are a few that have everything in the kitchen sink, like I Am the Walrus and Magical Mystery Tour, which are like 2 of my favorite cuts. By the way, Madman is my favorite album. It's got to be, you know what I mean? With Paul Buckmaster, Davy Johnson, first one he played on. Yeah, absolutely. When I interviewed Bruce Hornsby, and God knows I don't know why I can't get the guy anymore. I've interviewed him in person, but anyway, Bruce just did Madman Across Water from that covers album years ago. Oh, did he really? I think, and he did a pretty good job of it. Yeah. But I asked him, I said, so is Madman your favorite album? And he said, no. It's Tumbleweed Connection's my favorite album. But he said Madman, he loved the fact that it was
Elton pulled off the ultimate ominous vibe on that song.
That's right.
Incoming
Absolutely.
doom, like what's going on here?
Absolutely. He had that darkness, that Jimmy Page darkness that Zeppelin had a little bit there, you know what I mean? Of this just impending danger, you know?
Yeah.
And, but that's was an amazing album.
You know, Indian Sunset made me cry when I was 13.
Oh, me too. Me too. I wore that. So I wore many of those albums out. You know, I thought that would just change my life. The first Elton John album and that second one, Madman, just were life changers to me. You know, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be Elton John when I was a junior in high school.
Oh, you did okay. You did.
Oh, well, thank you. But, you know, I'm just happy that Elton, when we won Record of the Year for Rosanna, Elton was the first person in the audience to stand up and give us applause. And that means more to me than all the billions of streams you can possibly get, you know?
Yeah. The first time, my God, that's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That was a song written by myself and Mike Sherwood. And I had that riff and the verse right after I started playing that song right after Falling in Between album. And right after that, all of a sudden, I always get good ideas the day we finish an album. I start thinking of things that I really wanted to put on the record. So I started writing that song and then put it away in the chest and brought it back out during Toto 14. And me and Michael Sherwood finished the lyrics on it. And he did a demo on it, demo vocal, which is that vocal. Because we don't always make, when we try and do a vocal or record, we're trying to do masters. We're not doing demos anymore in hopes. That's the ultimate dream there. But his vocal was so compelling and so just soulful and bittersweet and everything. I felt that everybody needed to hear that performance of his. So I kind of just made a framed his vocal with the other instruments that were on there, of which Davy Johnston plays on that song, on the new stuff.
You know, I was watching the videos you're releasing, you know, when you're talking about the older songs. And there was a part of me that thought, man, there's a part of me that I'm watching you do this and I'm going, has David Paich opened up another door? Because I find, I'm 62. And even at my age, I'm finding myself now, in spite of myself or for whatever reasons, I'm kind of opening doors that maybe 20 years ago I wouldn't open. I don't know why. It's maybe unconscious. I'm doing my best work. This YouTube channel is the best thing I've ever done in 40 years in radio.
Right.
But, so I saw you do this. I'm going, okay, you went away and you came back, and I'm going, I think David Paich is just sort of following his what made you start that series of? Is this a newer, different version of David Paich, or am I full of shit?
I think it's a continuation of David Paich, and with some newly energized, with some new batteries, you know, I think here, you know, because it's not, it's just, I don't even know it's typical me, you know what I mean? I just grab each song and try and do what George Martin used to do, which is paint the song according to what kind of song it is, you know? When someone brings a song, you just, there's a process. It's all in the process of producing. There's to start with the song and the vocal, and then you frame it with everything else around it. It's called, Quincy calls it window dressing, you know? So, you know, this is, like I said, this is kind of a continuation of me with some with a new energy.
Well, good. I just found, you know what I was telling my son, I says, I think David Paich found a secret door someplace, another secret door. He's had many. Yeah, he found another secret door. Yeah. Queen Charade, Paich and Felder.
Yeah.
Another rocker. I like that one.
Yeah, I've been overdubbing on last couple of Glenn's out, not Glenn, Don Felder's out, excuse me. And he's a great guy. And I love his guitar playing. And I just knew it when I wrote the Queen Charade, I had to have Felder play slide stuff on it, you know? And That's a song, believe it or not. It was taken loosely based on an opera written by Peter Tchaikovsky, the classical composer, Russian composer. And it's based on a guy who's an obsessive gambler and a duchess who is a conniving card hustler. And but it's an opera, believe it or not.
Who are you gonna fool today? Yeah.
Who are you gonna fool today? You know, and it just came out great. I got lucky enough to get Steve Jordan, who just joined the Rolling Stones 5 days after he cut this track. You know, so I got the right drummer for it. And Lukather plays rhythm guitar on it, and he carves it. He just gets in this mode. He can walk into my room and sound not like Steve Lukather. All of a sudden, he hears a Stones kind of song, and he starts tuning and pulls out a guitar he doesn't usually play, which is a Telecaster, and plays that plays rhythm guitar from top to bottom on it. And it just came out exceptional. I just love its playing on it. I love everything about that record. I'm not putting out anything I don't love myself that I haven't heard 1,000 times. You know, and I hope I'm happy to say people are responding to it positively. Mm-hmm. So this makes me happy. Doing what you and I are doing right here makes me joyful, you know?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All the Tears That Shine. Okay. I don't want to sound like an idiot, but who's singing that?
That's Mike Sherwood.
That's Mike Sherwood.
Wow. Yeah, Mike Sherwood. Yeah. I know you know who Mike Sherwood is.
Yeah, well, I knew
a song
him.
Called Chinatown. He wrote a song called Chinatown with me, and he wrote a bunch of things with Steve Porcaro. I think one of them made a history album or something, or one Michael Jackson album. Anyway, he's been one of my go-to guys for a while, and when I plugged that into him, like I said, I'd started writing All the Tears That Shine the day after Falling in Between ended, and I had that riff, and I was singing the part, and I recorded it a little bit. And so when we were going to start Toto 14, I was digging out some old tapes and just found this piece that I'd started, which is my verse. And so I tried to finish the chorus on it. And then Mike came in and helped me with the verses and part of the chorus. And when he started singing it, my heart got full and my eyes started tearing up, you know, when I heard his vocals interpretation of it. So I told myself, I said, you know, I'm singing this on our album here, but if I could, I would have put his vocal on it. You know, if you could do anything you want, whenever you want, but it was going to be a Toto album. So, you know,
it's a nice tribute to him too.
I had to draw straws. We drew straws, and I got the short one, so I had to sing it.
No, I think it's a real nice tribute to him. You know.
Yeah.
He reached out to me when 14 was released.
Oh,
and
okay.
Then I finally got around to say, well, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to do an interview with him, and then we lost him. So
yeah, that's right.
Oh, Lucy, I like what you did there. You pulled out you went a little jazzy on me. You took me on an adventure.
Thank you. That was the whole idea, was to just when you thought you knew what was coming next, here it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm very happy. That's just comes from my dad being a jazz piano player, and me being around jazz piano players all my life. And I'm still a frustrated jazz piano player. And that inspired that song. And I started to do a duo album with Mike Lang, who's a very famous, legendary keyboard player in town here. And we started doing some cuts, thinking of doing a double piano or double keyboard album. And it did not come to fruition. He was busy. I was busy doing stuff. But I took the track that we did and overdubbed on it, kept it for I think it's 6 or 7 years old, that track. But we overdubbed James Torme singing backgrounds on it, which is Mel Torme's son. Now, Mel Torme and my father made classic jazz albums together, singing to Paich Torme. So I wanted to reunite the Paich Torme magical combination here, you know, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I love stand-up bass. I've got stand-up bass on that one, and it's also on All the Tears That Shine, stand-up bass. So I'm really happy about that.
Through the years, did you ever splurge on anything? I know I was talking to Luke. Last time I talked to Luke, I noticed, you know, when he does his interviews, he's got his stuff behind him.
Yeah, right.
And Steve P told me, I said, well, we tour because we want to keep our stuff. And I like stuff, you know, because look at me, you know, they're all autographed. It's 40 years of radio. But Did you ever splurge? And do you still have your stuff?
I got my stuff. My wife just put up all my stuff. I've had it in closets and on the floor and everything around the house. And Lorraine finally said, we need to get this stuff up off the floor and everything. So now my studio has most of my stuff in it on the walls, because I got a building that has a couple of rooms on it. And I have stuff here. That's a Wizard of Oz Monopoly game that my brother-in-law gave me, because Toto reminds him of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And yes, the answer is yes. I have a lot of stuff, and I couldn't not even get it into my house. There's so much stuff. There's an Instagram of Steve Porcaro today, where it shows him with his modular synthesizers plugging in all these chords, and I just took me right back there with how much stuff we used to take on the road. I mean, I used to take my 9-foot Grand. We used to take modular synthesizers like Keith Emerson had, So it was we were serious. Wanted to make a serious statement.
So you've done okay in your life. Did you ever splurge? You ever
splurge? I splurge all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to be going to Greece after I get done with Amsterdam on a vacation with my wife, who I've been married to 37 years to. I'm a lucky guy in this business.
In this business.
It is. And so, I pretty much have everything a kid could want. I've got the bass. Herbie Hancock once said, having a recording studio is the best train set a keyboard player could ever have, and I agree with him. It's so much fun when I go in there. I have to not go in there sometimes, because sometimes I go in there and don't come out, so.
Peter Beckett told me he's had all the big cars, and then I said, well, what's been your favorite? And he says, Dodge Ram. I said, really? Dodge Ram? Right. He said, I don't know. He says, you changed, but for whatever reason, all around vehicle, I like my Dodge Ram. I'm going, it might have said Jeep, but I think it was Dodge Ram. Yeah. But I'm going, okay, sure. Whatever gets you.
I just can't spend big money on a car. I'm not that splurgy person that does that, I buy gear, recording gear,
Yeah.
Microphones, shit like that.
Joe told me about his love for Miatas. I went, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I got a few fan questions, because we've gone over. I'm going to do a track by track when the album comes out with your explanation, and we're just going to do that.
Right.
What was the vibe? This is from Gary Schneider. Some of these names you might know. What was the vibe going into Boss Scaggs Silk Degrees? How were you feeling going into that project? How old would you have been then?
I would have been around 23, 24. Mm-hmm. And we were at the top of our game. I mean, we had been doing Seals and Crofts records. We had played on a couple of Steely Dan tracks, and we were locked. We were tight. And so when I wrote Jeff Porcaro gave me the opportunity to hook me up with Boss Scaggs. He wanted a piano player he could write the whole album with, or a couple of songs. Well, we wrote the whole album, and I just called Hungate and Louis Shelton and Jeff Porcaro. And we went in the studio, and it was just like wildfire. It just happened magically, very quickly.
Sorry,
that's casting right, with having the right personnel and having a song with a form to it,
Is there anything on that album that you really pushed that might not have gotten on there, or anything that you pushed and it finally made it on?
Yeah, there? Love Me Tomorrow was the first thing that Boz has not written the lyrics to completely. I wrote the lyrics and the whole song, Love Me Tomorrow, which was like just kind of that could have very well been a solo album thing I would pull out right now if I still had it, or a Toto thing, but it just came out during that time. Same with Jump Street. I just came from a Small Faces concert and was very impressed with the fact that they'd start the song out with the guitar and drums, but no bass. And so it'd be just the drums playing and the bass, and without bass. So I started the Jump Street with just the piano playing and Jeff just playing his drums with no bass in it until the first verse comes. So that was the impetus behind that.
Do you think would Toto? I mean, it's hard to say. It's kind of like saying, why did you tear up my rookie cards from my baseball cards when I was young? But where would Jeff be now, you think?
Oh, God. He was such a homebody. I mean, he loved his family. he would just be on steroids. I mean, not on steroids, but just, that's metaphorically speaking. Just whatever he was then, he would have get more refined and more refined, you know. And I can't say enough about him. He was my partner, and he was so imaginative. He was responsible for all the covers, anything artistic that we did that we liked. He was involved with heavily. You know, he could have been an artist. He can draw freehand, you know, and so he can design albums and he can storyboard videos and he does all this stuff. But probably one of, if not the greatest drummer I've played with, and definitely my favorite drummer to play with anybody. The shorthand, he just picks up on songs instantaneously. I mean, 20 seconds into a song, he has the whole vibe down, and it's just, you just play. It's like playing to a machine. I was like playing to literally a machine that can think, you know.
Michael Porter says, do you still give the band, he says, cough, cough, Luke, cough, cough, heck for saying that Africa was not going to be a major hit?
Yes, absolutely. It was going to be a minor hit. No, not on my solo album, which they suggested. We have a thing, the musicians have a thing that when the tracks they feel aren't good up to the level of quality of the rest of the album, they say, this is a great time to start your solo album. You could start with that track right there. So that day everybody used to kid me about Africa. This is going to be great on your solo album. Well, I started fleshing it out at my studio here and putting more overdubs by myself on there. And when I brought it in and had a rough vocal with it, all of a sudden Jeff said, let's try doing a loop with this, you know, because I originally wanted Jeff to do all the percussion like it was a composition, make actually a percussion as part of the song, you know, which he did, this tribal thing. And again, back to the question here. Yes, it was not going to be a single at all. That was just like an extra added, almost bonus cut. If we were doing it now, it'd be a bonus cut for Japan, you know, that kind of thing. Like all my songs were always the bonus cuts, like Spanish Steps of Rome, Spiritual Man, you know, all bonus cuts, you know.
But in the beginning, but in the beginning, you were like the guy in that you.
Well, I had been at it longer, and I had more experience writing songs than anybody else in the band had. So I got there first with my group of songs, you know. And then as I encouraged everybody, guys, if anybody has any ideas for songs, please, I encourage that to people to start writing, the band members, you know, so we could be a band.
Yeah.
And little by little, Steve Lukather came out with Won't Hold You Back on Toto IV album, huge single, you know, classic. And he did I'll Be Over You. Mike McDonald was singing with him on that. And I was very lucky to have a vehicle like Toto for my songs, you know, because my songs really don't fit into a niche. I tried writing those songs like songs for the time that sounded these chords sound a certain way and they're happy and they're major. And I wanted to write my own more progressive stuff, you know, more like Procol Harum was doing, you know, Elton John and people like that.
Well, as a guy who's followed you, I always thought that like there was multiple albums on there, but the stuff you know, it's not quantity, it's quality. And every time I'd hear your songs, I'd go right to them. But with like, for instance, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, is that something you care about? I always tell the people who ask me, they're going to get in the next 5 years, going to be nominated in the next 5 years. I mean, soon they're going to be nominating people who are dead. That's what's going to happen, unfortunately, with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What's your thoughts on that?
I really don't care about it. I don't think about it at all. I think it's nice that they have one for all the people that are in it, you know, which is, I'm surprised some of the time, some of the people that make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but there are some people that actually deserve that. And I don't think we'll ever be in it, because I think that the rock, when we turned down, believe it or not, we turned down the cover to Rolling Stone, which in hindsight right now, I go, God, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I was just, we were all pissed off at Rolling Stone at the time. So a lot of the same people are in charge of those award shows. And I think they still have it out for us a little bit for not doing that cover. And or maybe they just still don't like us, But I don't think about it that much, and it doesn't matter to me that we're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because I know who we are.
Of course, I know you probably got another one at the top of the hour. I'll ask you. Make Believe. Yeah. By the way, that's like one of my favorite songs off Toto IV.
Thank you. Now, Make Believe was released second after Rosanna. It was supposed to be the follow-up to like Hold the Line, and I thought, sure, that was a smash single. I would have bet my life on it. Make Believe. You know what I mean? It's got that same kind of merry-go-round vibe to it. And I thought Bobby did a great job singing it. And again, that's one of those that surprises you. And you think that's going to be a hit, and it's not. But Africa is a hit. That's what's amazing about it. It's so unpredictable,
The vibe of a song has a life of its own. That's the weird thing. I mean, sometimes I always look at Love Will Keep Us Together because I love that song, but I know commercial radio doesn't play that song a lot.
Right.
And I look at it, I'm going, well, it's still, the people still like it, but commercial radio won't play it. Remember, if you want to help out the channel, there is a PayPal link at the very top of the description, as well as you can get access to early clips with our Patreon. I'm John Beaudin. Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. This is Rock History Music. Take care of yourself.